Welcome back, everyone. Today's hot tea is why on earth is it so expensive to compete in ballroom dance competitions? So over 20 years ago now, I overheard two competition owners chatting right before a comp. And one of them was noticing the huge number of entries and said something to the extent of, wow, you must be making bank. In this video, I'm going to describe why you pay so much to be there if they're making so much money. Okay? And to tell you the truth, my own dance partner owned a licensed NDCA comp and USA dance comp. And so I do have a lot of insider info, not just actually many more friends that own competitions nowadays, but this is someone that I was very close to in terms of friends. So I feel I have my finger on the pulse more than most on what kind of goes on behind the scenes, guys. So the nitty gritty is, let's not kid ourselves. This is a for-profit venture. Don't be surprised. So is ballroom dancing joyful and fun? Yes, but for many people, including myself, it is a career. It's the sole way we bring income to our family. And honestly, when you run a comp, are there opportunities to make huge sums of money? Yes, you can make heaps, but it is high risk, okay? So with the high rewards comes high risk. I will not identify names here, but I have personally seen many comps go under after losing money, meaning that comp owner invests money every year, does not take a penny out, invests loads of time, loads of money, and not only gets nothing back, they actually spend money out of their pocket, guys. And as a matter of fact, one person I even saw lose their home, that went into collections with bankruptcy, all in this process of, it wasn't honestly self-aggrandizement. It was just, hey, I would love to run a good comp, and I want to run a comp the way I always wanted one to run, which inevitably in your mind's eye is associated with cheap entry fees, but cheap entry fees requires huge amounts of people to make ends meet, and it pretty much doesn't pay for itself, guys. You've got to charge a lot. In running, I should say, certain comps. Unsanctioned comps, hey, much cheaper. USA dance competitions, also much cheaper, but I'll get into that in a little bit. So in my opinion, high risk does deserve high reward, and many people do pay for the nose for taking that risk. Okay, guys? Why is it high risk? Well, firstly, unless you are running a competition out of, I'll say, a touristy destination, for example, close to Disneyland, Florida, Manhattan. These in themselves are destination locations, but most comps are not in a place like that. Even a major comp like Ohio Star Ball, no shade to those of you watching from Ohio, but I would say Columbus is not a super big draw in itself. People are honestly pretty much going to attend that competition, and that's it. And it is a lot of money to drop just to go dance. So many dancers do cherry pick based on, well, I can go to the comp, but hey, I can also go to Universal Studios. So that absolutely comes into play, guys. And honestly, those comps that are in a destination city like that, they are paying through the nose for that hotel room. Now, I have not personally run a competition though I have hosted many competitions in my ballroom dance studio, I was not an organizer. I just rented space to them. And there were many comps we had there, ballroom and Latin, but also salsa, blues, West Coast swing, conventions, all that sort of thing, because we had so many ballrooms and so much floor space. Anyway, I have run private events at hotels though for ballroom dance. And you might be surprised as well to learn that you're probably thinking that they just get this room for free because we book all these rooms. No, it's actually the other way around, guys, at least in my experience. In order to even reserve that ballroom, I had to rent an expensive dance floor through them on top of those fees. I had to guarantee a certain number of room reservations, okay? So there is absolutely a risk. And guess what? If my comp doesn't fly and I've signed my contract a year in advance, I'm not going to see that money back. It's gone. So there is absolutely a risk involved. Certainly less risk once you have an established competition, because at that point you can kind of budget who's coming in, what can I spend on that pro show, etc. Okay, that comp organizer is not getting diddly squat from that hotel for free. If you have a vendor room, they're paying for it. If you have a table set out in reception outside of the ballroom itself, which they do, they're paying for that space. They're paying for that table. They're paying for someone to come and set that up for them. They're paying for that microphone. None of that stuff is cheap, friends. I personally think I'm appreciative that those competitions do allow for vendors to rent space there. I've been a vendor myself. Honestly, I didn't make ends meet with selling things at the comp. Most vendors make things online, make their money online. But it is a great service to us as the ballroom dancers that we have vendors there. Otherwise, what the heck are you going to do if you say your heel cap completely, that the whole plastic part of your heel falls off in a comp? It is a wonderful privilege to have someone there I can buy that shoe from. I don't care if it's 10 times the price I pay online. That is worthwhile. And certainly if you're a hardcore dancer, can you get cheap shoes online? Yes. Do I recommend that for beginners? For your, 3-week social class? Yeah, absolutely. But most of the people watching this channel are in fact hardcore dancers or even competitors. We did have a lot of people here compete. You're going to want to try on that shoe. You do not want to do guesswork and end up with blisters or an ill-fitting shoe or damage to your feet by shopping online. So I love vendors when you come to the comps. Thank you, vendors, if you're watching. Really, it's a wonderful thing you're doing for the competitors there. I know you're not making money. You're probably spending money to be there. Okay, so, and they have to reserve that vendor area, folks, whether the vendors rent it or not. So that's another risk. You just don't know if you're going to recoup that money at all. You have to pay, especially this day and age. There's a heavy theatrical element to dance sport, which I love. I think it adds to the excitement. You've got spotlights, you've got LEDs, you might have a drop-down disco ball. And in the case of my ballroom dance studio, I had all of that equipment built in, but it was hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of environment there that you have to pay for at the hotel. You can buy it from the hotel, rent it from the hotel. Honestly, most ballroom comps, the theatrics are pretty extensive. And so they're not going to go with what the hotel has to offer. They're probably going to go with an outside rental agency that they pay to bring in and set up that stuff. Okay. The hotel supplies diddly squat, in my experience. Not to mention it's time consuming to stage all of this stuff. You have to show up. Maybe you have to put that comp floor together yourself with screwdrivers. anytime you have, I'll say, scenes set up, like big backdrops behind your reception area, outside the ballroom, entrance to the vendor area, there's usually a photo op set up that's staged with the branding of that competition that you can stand in front of and take pretty photos. They have to pay for all of that stuff, and none of it's cheap if it's done well. And honestly, the vast majority of competitions I've been to do that very well. They do not spare expenses. I have more to share in this area in terms of why on earth you're paying so darn much to be there. And I've already gone over my 10-minute mark, so I'm going to follow up hopefully tomorrow, if not super soon, on more of why these things are so spendy. So thank you for joining me today. And if you're comfortable sharing, I'd love to hear in the comments different comps you've been to and approximately what you've spent to enter. I'm not talking about the pro fee, because that in itself is a whole barrel full of worms, but I would like to hear how much you're spending for those comp tickets, for that floor seating, day ticket, night ticket, your room, the entry fees per dance, that sort of thing. I think all of our viewers would appreciate hearing that and learning from you, because I know you all have a lot to offer. So thank you so much. Have an amazing day. I'll see you first thing tomorrow. Bye, guys.